They're back to school, so we can have an actual train of thought this morning. And I wanted to chat about somebody I was talking to the other day, and she regular physical therapy for, I think it was like knee or hip pain or something like that. She hadn't been running in a while. Definitely not in that early postpartum period. Her kids are a little bit older and no pelvic issues. And she started to run, and her therapist gave her a cue to run a certain way. And kind of the way this story goes, like she had been running for a little bit, she added this new change or this new cue, and then all of a sudden she was having leakage, and she hadn't had leakage like ever. And so her therapist is like, hey, go talk to Carrie. And she's like, oh my gosh, do I need pelvic floor PT? And I was like, I don't think so. I'm like, tell me about when you notice these symptoms. And so this is what I do with moms. Like, did it happen? If you ran a little bit further, what was happening? And the only variable that we found that had changed was that she had started trying to run differently or run correctly. And what we think is she probably was getting up in her head, probably got a little bit of tension up in here, and that increased pressure downward, and then she had some leakage because the leakage didn't come on in this new distance, so it couldn't have been endurance. It was definite. And she's like, I don't think it's uphill or downhill or things like that. And I was like, you know what? I think it's this cue. And so Rich Willie, he's a researcher at University of Montana. He did a post over the weekend, I think, looking at some of Izzy Moore's research about, can people really tell who the efficient runners are? And I'm wondering if, and the answer was actually no in this paper. Like, seasoned, people that are looking evaluations, like, if we're not great at kind of picking out efficiency, it's getting all wonky. I'm just going to shut it off. We just go off. Be telling people how to run. And we're not talking elite level here, but like, if you think that people are supposed to run a certain way to fix some sort of, or prevent some sort of injury or things like that, but you get an immediate shift and change elsewhere, is that really worth it? And so I see this a lot. I'll have moms that start to do something different or do a new activity, or they're told by somebody to try something different, and they haven't had pelvic floor issues at all, and then all of a sudden they have leakage, or all of a sudden they have an onset of prolapse symptoms that was gone like a long time ago. And when you've had those things before and they come back, especially if they've been gone for a long time, that's scary as hell. And so two things that I kind of want to get your thoughts about is, one, has this happened to you, either as a provider or as a client working with somebody before? It's like wild America out here. So that's one. Two is, what do you think about telling people that there's a right way, or you have to run this way, or try and change this when you run, beyond something simple like cadence or like a very, very broad cue, like specific cueing? What do you think about specific cueing? And do we know really as much as we think we do? So should we really be telling people that there's a right way to do this? Because again, especially if you don't understand the impact on other systems, if that person, it was a friend of mine, like if that person couldn't just like be like, hey, what about this? Or she didn't know somebody, now all of a sudden she thinks she needs pelvic floor PT. It's another 2 months before she can get into therapy, just because of one change that maybe didn't need to happen. And so that's what I'm wondering if, and this is where I think it's a really important conversation to have, if you are an orthopedic or a sports-based clinician or even a trainer and you give cues, one, do you know what the impact is on other systems? Two, do you ask? And three, if this does come up, do you have somebody on speed dial that you can chat with? because it can really raise a host of problems. So this person, had she not been able to just be like, hey, what's going on? Would she have stopped running and be like, oh, that's it. I guess I can't do anymore because it causes this other issue and I have this whole new thing, when really it wasn't that big of a deal. And I think if we just get her out of her head and stop trying to change things that really don't need to be changed, I think we're good to go. So let me know what you think. If you are a mom and you've kind of been through this before, like, share with me your experience. Hop in the DMs. And if you're a clinician or a coach or trainer and you've given cues like this before, do you follow up? Do you have somebody on speed dial? Or if you're a pelvic health provider, have you had somebody come and chat by that? My dog's all unhappy. All right, hop in my DMs. Happy Freedom Day to all the moms out there who all their kids are in school. I'm a little sad. A little bit. I'll get over it, I promise. All right.